Hi guys, it's Amanda again, here with your last video for Sense and Sensibility. We're supposed to start Pride and Prejudice on Saturday, and that's going to be really fun. I like Pride and Prejudice a lot, but it's actually not my favorite, so I bet a lot of you are going to have to disagree with me on that one. Today, I'm here because I want to tell you all some stories about my life that I thought of when I was reading Sense and Sensibility. And originally I was just going to make it kind of something that was like fun and silly, but I ended up feeling like I needed to get a little bit serious for this one. I'm somewhat nervous about saying this. So the thing is, I'm queer. Yeah, I like to date women. That's a thing that's been in my life in a number of ways in the past 5-6 years or so. I was talking last time about how I feel like I'm inherently a bit of a Marianne and not as much of an Eleanor, but that I try to be more of an Eleanor, and that I feel like I sometimes am an Eleanor to a certain degree. And I think that relates to this because I think when you're queer, and I'm sure other queer people can relate to this, you just can't be as open about your feelings about the people you're dating as you can when you're straight, because you don't necessarily know how people are going to react, which is why I think I was a little bit nervous to even, say that and make this video. The first person I ever dated was a really good friend of mine, had been a really good friend of mine for years and years before that. And I was very much in love with her, and I think she was with me as well. And I hid it from all of my friends, all of our mutual friends. I kept it a secret. After a while, I started slowly telling my friends individually who didn't know her, but I still didn't tell our mutual friends. I think it was because I was just really nervous that that people were going to make assumptions about me, or that they were going to not take my feelings as seriously because they were for a woman and not for a man. I don't know. So I was 19 years old, and I didn't know how to tell anyone that I was in love with a girl, and it was really difficult for me. It was really hard for me to see all these other people who were getting together with people and people that they really liked, and all of our friends were sort of celebrating that and getting really excited about that. But I just didn't ever really feel like I was getting the same sort of attention, And then Marianne kind of berates Eleanor for not having expressed how she feels about Edward more, like kind of towards the beginning even. And then like throughout, she's consistently confused by it and displeased by it. And I think that also felt really familiar to me, because I've also been in situations where people are like, well, why didn't you tell me? And they were sort of like angry with me for not having told, or like offended that I hadn't told. Or they said like, oh, I didn't think that you wanted to talk about it because you haven't ever like said much. In Eleanor's situation, she has reasons for not wanting to talk about Edward too much that have to do with, she doesn't want to get her own hopes up, and she doesn't want to get her family's hopes up, because she knows that they sort of are getting their hopes up already, and I think that's kind of a different situation from the one that I was in. But it felt really similar in terms of like being, sort of amused, but also sort of frustrated and almost kind of hurt that people were upset that I hadn't confided in them about something that I had good reason not to confide in them about. I think that that's probably a common experience for a lot of queer people. Then when Eleanor kind of finds out that Lucy Steele is engaged to Edward, and therefore she will not be able to be engaged to Edward, that also felt really familiar to me. The way that she was kind of consistently having to pretend that everything was okay when everything wasn't okay by any means. And then Marianne had her moment with Willoughby, which was really difficult, I think, for both of them. And Marianne had absolutely no problem letting her feelings out, letting them show all over the place, and being really expressive and not even necessarily being respectful of the fact that Eleanor was having those kind of feelings as well once she found out. And that, I think, was also really familiar to me in my very last breakup, which, you know, I'd been out for a few years by that point, so it wasn't like I had been hiding the situation from my friends. I had one particular friend who broke up with her boyfriend around the time that I broke up with my girlfriend, and like, I love her, and I don't mean to, like, you know, say that she wasn't allowed to be having her feelings about her boyfriend, because of course she was. I just kind of couldn't help thinking, like, there are all these people, including me, trying to do so much for you, but I'm really in the same situation that you are, because I had been dating my girlfriend for actually longer than she had been dating her boyfriend. I was intentionally trying not to let it impact my life, you know, and I was really successful at that, I think, in this particular case. But I think it was partly that, and partly just that she'd been in a heterosexual relationship, so she was allowed, like, socially more allowed to talk about it than I was. And that realization was a little bit difficult for me. And it's sort of one of those ways in which we live in kind of a homophobic society. You know, the good thing is that since I was in graduate school, I was able to be a lot more open and out. I was not like that before graduate school. I was very sort of secretive about it, except with my really good friends. And then now I'm sort of really open on Tumblr, as well as with the people that I encounter in my real life. And it feels good to be able to talk about things in that way. I'm from Texas, so every time I go home, I sort of think about that a lot. You know, when somebody asks me if I have a boyfriend, I can't just say, like, no, I actually usually date women. Not that I would be totally opposed to having a boyfriend, for the record. Yeah, I don't even know anymore, you guys. I think I'm just kind of rambling. And I hope that somebody kind of gets something out of this. And I love you all, so I'll see you soon so we can talk about Pride and Prejudice.